Have you ever stopped to wonder why, after decades of demanding absolute equality in every aspect of life, so many modern women suddenly act stunned, almost offended, when men finally start treating them exactly the way men have always treated each other? No special favors, no white knights rushing in, no automatic deference just because of who they are, just straight, unfiltered, equal treatment. And yet, the moment that happens, the complaints pour in, the shock is palpable, and the question hangs in the air. If equality is truly what you wanted, why does it feel so uncomfortable now? Stay with me until the very end today, because by the time we're done, you're going to see exactly why this shift isn't just happening, it's accelerating, and why trying to reverse it might be the biggest mistake a man could make in today's world. If you're getting value from this right now, do me a solid. Smash that like button, share this video with every man you know who needs to hear it, and subscribe with notifications on if you want more no holds barred, angry guy content that cuts through the noise. And listen, if you're tired of watching your wealth evaporate because you don't fully understand this crypto space yet, or you're worried about protecting what you've built in a system that seems stacked against men more every day, go check out Angry's Crypto Academy right now. It's linked in the description below. That's where I teach you step by step how to buy, sell, trade, and most importantly, safeguard your assets. So nobody, not the government, not an ex, not the markets, can take what's yours. Click that link and get started today. All right, let's dive in. Picture this. It's 2015. A guy walks into a bar, sees a woman he finds attractive, approaches her with confidence, offers to buy her a drink because that's what men did. If she says yes, great. If she says no, he smiles, nods, and moves on without making a scene. That was normal. That was expected. Fast forward to today, and that same exact behavior, offering to buy a drink out of basic courtesy, can get a man labeled as creepy, entitled, or worse, depending on how the woman feels in that moment. But here's where it gets interesting. When men finally listened, when we collectively said, fine, no more approaching, no more offering, no more chivalry unless it's explicitly earned, we didn't get praised for respecting boundaries. We got accused of being lazy, bitter, or checked out. And now, when men treat women with the same blunt honesty, the same lack of emotional coddling, the same expectation of self reliance that we give each other every single day, women are losing their minds. They're shocked, they're angry, they're confused. And gentlemen, that's not our problem anymore. Let me paint a clearer picture with a story that happens 1,000 times a day now. There's a woman in her late 20s or early 30s. She's successful in her career, has her own place, a solid circle of friends, and she's been told her entire life that she doesn't need a man. She's complete on her own. She believes it too. She dates when she wants on her terms. And if a guy doesn't meet her standards right out of the gate, height, income, looks, emotional availability, the whole checklist, she's gone. No second chances, no explanations needed. She treats men like options because in her mind, that's empowerment, that's equality. Now enter the new breed of man, the one who's been paying attention. He's not angry in the explosive way anymore. He's calm, he's focused, he's building his business, hitting the gym, stacking his money, traveling with his boys, and living life on his own terms. When he meets the same woman, he doesn't bend over backwards. He doesn't text good morning every day just to keep her attention. He doesn't drop everything when she hints that she's having a bad day. He treats her exactly like he would treat another man in his circle, with respect if it's earned, but zero special treatment just for existing. And if she flakes on plans, he doesn't chase. He just makes other plans. If she tries to test him with attitude or drama, he calls it out directly or simply walks away. If she's late without a good reason, he doesn't wait around fuming. He leaves and does something better with his time. In other words, he treats her like an equal. No pedestal, no kid gloves, no assuming she's fragile or needs protection from hard truths. And her reaction? Shock, absolute shock. How dare he not orbit around her? How dare he have boundaries as firm as hers? How dare he not care if she walks away? She expected him to fight for her attention the way men used to. She expected the old rules to still apply, even though she spent years telling us those rules were patriarchal and oppressive. But now that men are finally playing by the new rules, the rules of pure equality, she doesn't like how the game feels when it's played straight. This isn't hypothetical. I've seen it in real time. Friends of mine, subscribers, guys in my academy, they tell me the same stories over and over. They meet a woman online or in person, things start off well, and the moment the guy doesn't jump through the usual hoops, the woman either ghosts or lashes out with something like, "You're just like all the other avoidant men these days," or "Why don't men put in effort anymore?" Effort? Brother, the effort is there. It's just not wasted on someone who hasn't earned it yet. Let me break this down even further because this is where the real revelation hits most people. For generations, men operated under a social contract. We were told provide, protect, pursue, and in return, you'd have a shot at loyalty, respect, and companionship. It wasn't perfect, but it was a contract both sides understood. Then feminism, third wave, fourth wave, whatever you want to call it, came along and said that contract was unfair. Women didn't need providers anymore. They could earn their own money, open their own doors, pay their own bills. Great. Men heard that loud and clear. We adapted. We stopped assuming women needed us financially. We stopped rushing to fix every problem. We started focusing on ourselves because honestly, that's what we were told you wanted, independent men who don't smother or control. But here's what nobody saw coming, or at least what very few admitted. When women said that they wanted to be treated like equals, what many actually meant was they wanted the benefits of traditional masculinity without any of the responsibilities that used to come with traditional femininity. They wanted men to keep providing the safety net, the emotional labor, the pursuit, the chivalry, but now without getting loyalty or respect in return. And when men finally said no more, we're done with that one sided deal, the panic set in. Think about the language we hear today. Where have all the good men gone? Why won't men commit? Men are afraid of strong women. No, men aren't afraid. Men are awake. We're not hiding under rocks. We're building empires, traveling the world, enjoying our freedom, and only letting people into our lives who add genuine value. And when a woman enters that space demanding special treatment without offering anything substantial in return, we treat her the same way we treat a man doing the same thing. Next caller. Let me give you a real world example that drives this home. I know a guy, let's call him Mark, solid dude, six figures, in shape, own place, no kids, no drama. He meets a woman at a networking event. She's sharp, attractive, has her own career. They exchange numbers. First date goes well. Second date, she's 20 minutes late. No text, no apology when she shows up. Just breezes in like nothing happened. Old Mark would have let it slide to keep the peace. New Mark says calmly, "I don't wait around for people who don't respect my time. Enjoy your evening." And he leaves. She blows up his phone later. "I can't believe you just left. That's so rude." His response, "You showed up late without warning. I treated you the way I'd treat anyone who did that." If that's rude, maybe reflect on why. She was furious, called him emotionally unavailable, told her friends he was a narcissist. But deep down, she was shocked because no man had ever held her to the same standard she held everyone else to. And guess what? 3 weeks later, she's texting him trying to hang out as friends because suddenly he's the most interesting man she's met in years. That's the power of treating women like equals. It flips the script. This isn't about being cruel. This isn't about punishment or revenge for past heartbreaks. This is about fairness, pure, simple fairness. If you want to be treated like a queen, act like one. If you want to be treated like one of the boys, like an equal, then handle your business like one of the boys. But you don't get to switch the rules depending on what benefits you in the moment. And ladies, if you're watching this, and I know some of you are, understand something. The men doing this aren't broken. We're not traumatized. We're not bitter incels hiding in basements. We're the ones who finally read the room. You told us you didn't need us. You told us chivalry was dead. You told us traditional roles were oppressive. We believed you. We internalized it. And now that we're living accordingly, the goalpost can't magically move back just because reality doesn't feel as comfortable as the fantasy did. Let me take you through another layer of this because storytelling is the best way to make this stick. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. Imagine two construction sites right next to each other. On one site, the crew has been working under the old rules. The foreman brings coffee for everyone every morning, carries the heaviest loads for the newer guys, stays late to cover shifts without complaint. And if someone messes up, he fixes it quietly so nobody gets embarrassed. The crew respects him, but over time, some start taking advantage. They show up late, leave early, do sloppy work, knowing he'll pick up the slack. On the second site, the foreman runs things differently from day one. Everyone gets their own coffee, everyone carries their own load. If you're late, you miss the safety meeting and work the day without pay. If you mess up, you fix it yourself or you're gone. No favoritism, no exceptions, pure merit and accountability. At first, the crew on the second site complains. This guy is harsh. He doesn't care about us. The other site has it better. But after a few months, something interesting happens. The second crew is tighter, more efficient, more proud of their work. The guys who couldn't handle it left and went to the first site where they continued dragging everyone down. The ones who stayed became stronger, sharper, and deeply loyal to the foreman, not because he babied them, but because he treated them like capable adults. Modern dating is those two construction sites. The first site is the old dynamic, men carrying the emotional and financial load, women getting the benefits of protection and provision without always reciprocating respect or effort. The second site is where we are now. Men demanding reciprocity from day one, treating women as capable equals who must bring something real to the table. And just like the crew on the second site, a lot of women are complaining because equality feels like loss when you're used to privilege disguised as tradition. But here's the part that will really bake your noodle. The women who thrive in this new reality, the ones who quietly adapt, who show up on time, who bring value, who respect boundaries, the ones who actually meant it when they said they wanted equality, they're winning more than ever. They're locking down the highest value men because those men finally have the space to see who's real and who's just performing. The ones shocked and angry, they're the ones who never actually wanted equality. They wanted superiority with better marketing. Let's keep rolling because the deeper we go, the more you're going to see how this isn't some random trend. It's a complete paradigm shift that's been building for 20 years and is now hitting critical mass. Take the workplace. Remember when equality meant women wanted to be judged on merit, not gender? Great. Men agreed. We stopped automatically assuming the woman in the room needed the heavy box carried out or the door held. We stopped softening feedback in performance reviews because she might cry. We started treating female colleagues exactly like male colleagues, direct, no sugarcoating, no special exemptions if deadlines were missed because of personal drama. And what happened almost immediately? Articles started popping up. Why is my male boss so cold? The bro culture is excluding women. Men don't know how to communicate with women at work anymore. In translation, they were fine with equality until equality stopped feeling like preferential treatment. Same script, different stage. I want you to think about the phrase that gets thrown around constantly now. Masculine energy is toxic. Watch what happens when men actually dial that energy all the way back. When we stop leading, stop initiating, stop protecting, stop pursuing, suddenly it flips to where's the masculine energy? Why won't men lead? You see the trap, right? Damned if you do, damned if you don't, unless you completely detach from the game and let women experience the full weight of their own rhetoric. That's exactly what men walking away are doing. And that's why the panic is setting in across social media, podcasts, talk shows, and group chats everywhere. Let me tell you about a woman I'll call Jessica. Early 30s, corporate lawyer, six-figure income, travels for pleasure 4 or 5 times a year, very vocal on Instagram about how she's high value and doesn't need a man to complete her. She dated casually, always keeping multiple options because why settle? One day she meets a guy at a friend's dinner. Let's call him Alex. Alex is calm, runs his own software consulting firm, lifts heavy, travels with his boys, zero social media presence. They hit it off. First couple of dates are fire. Then the tests start. She's 15 minutes late to dinner, no text. She cancels plans last minute because something came up with work. She posts thirst traps while they're talking and laughs it off with, if you can't handle me at my worst. Old school guys would have chased harder, argued, tried to lock her down. Alex? He just slows his responses to a trickle and starts posting stories from the gym, from jujitsu, from steak dinners with the boys. No confrontation, no drama. Within 2 weeks, Jessica is spiraling. She's sending paragraph text. Did I do something wrong? You seem distant. Alex finally replies, I treat people the way they treat me. You show up when it's convenient for you, I'll do the same. She loses her mind, calls him avoidant, calls him emotionally immature, tells all her friends he's the problem. But then 3 days later, she's at his door with coffee and an apology, dressed to the nines, talking about how she sees now that she was taking him for granted. He lets her in, they hook up, and the very next week, she's back to the same behavior because that's who she is until the consequences actually stick. Alex ended it cleanly. No hate, no speech, just we're not compatible. And Jessica spent the next 6 months telling anyone who would listen that men these days are broken. No, Jessica, you finally met a man who treated you like an adult. Man would treat another adult man who was playing games. He walked. That story is playing out in every city, every age bracket, every income level right now. The only variable is how quickly the woman realizes the old playbook is dead. Here's another angle that almost nobody is willing to say out loud, but we're saying it here because this channel is about truth, not comfort. For decades, female privilege was hidden inside traditional gender roles. The man paid for dates. That was provider energy. The man carried the heavy stuff. That was protector energy. The man initiated sex, planned the future, absorbed rejection quietly. That was pursuer energy. Women got to experience all of that without the downside risk men carried: financial ruin from divorce, false accusations, reputational destruction, loneliness from constant rejection. It was the ultimate hedge fund: high upside, limited downside. When women said, we don't need that anymore, most men took it at face value and thought, cool, the contract is voided for both sides. But many women thought the contract was only voided for them. They still expected the benefits of masculine investment while contributing nothing but their presence. And for a while it worked because enough men were still asleep, still simping, and still white knighting. Those men are drying up fast. The pipeline is empty. And the women who banked on that model are now staring at an empty room, wondering why it's so quiet. I want you to picture a vending machine. For years, you put in $1 and got a soda and a bag of chips. One day, the machine starts giving only the soda. You kick it, you scream at it, you write angry reviews online. This machine is broken. No, the machine is working exactly as programmed now. You just don't like the new programming because you were used to the glitch that gave you extra for free. Men were the glitch. We're not glitching anymore. Let's talk about social media for a minute because that's where the shock is on full display 24/7. Open TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube Shorts right now and search men don't approach anymore. You'll see video after video of attractive women in public looking bored or confused. I've been sitting here for an hour and no guy has come up to talk to me. They act like it's a mystery, like men collectively forgot how attraction works. Sister, we didn't forget. We did the math. Approach 20 women in 2024. 18 ignore you. One calls you creepy to her friends, and one might give you her number, but even then, there's a 50% chance it's fake or she flakes. Meanwhile, one viral clip of you harassing someone and your job, your reputation, everything is on the line. So we stopped approaching in public. We treat women like we treat other men. Nod, keep walking, mind our business. Their reaction: outrage. Men are cowards now. No. Men are rational actors who refuse to play a rigged game. Same thing online. Women complain that their DMs are full of low effort hey messages or dick pics. Fair complaint. But when high value men stop sending any messages at all, because why waste time on a slot machine that pays out once every 500 pulls? Suddenly it's men don't know how to court anymore. You can't have it both ways. You can't shame men for approaching and then shame them for not approaching. Well, actually, you can until men stop caring about the shame. And that's exactly what's happened. We've reached peak indifference. And indifference, brothers, is the ultimate power. When you no longer care whether she stays or goes, when her approval is no longer currency in your world, you start treating her exactly like you treat everyone else, with basic respect, but zero obligation. That's when the mask slips and you see who she really is underneath the princess programming. Some women adapt and thrive. They start bringing peace, loyalty, femininity, support, the things men actually value long term. Those women are getting engaged left and right to the best men out there. The ones who can't adapt, they're making six-figure salaries, collecting handbags and cats, and making content about how all men are trash while secretly crying themselves to sleep at night. And the wild part is they still don't connect the dots. They think the problem is men. It's not. The problem is the mirror. Let me drop another story on you that perfectly illustrates the levels to this. There's a private men's group I'm in, high level entrepreneurs, investors, former athletes, guys making 7 and 8 figures. We meet once a quarter in different cities. No plus ones allowed anymore because the last time a couple guys brought girlfriends or wives, the drama was insane. One woman spent the entire weekend trying to figure out why none of the men were hitting on her or even giving her extra attention. She was stunning, model level looks, and back home, she was used to men orbiting constantly. Here, nothing. The guys were polite, said hello, then went right back to talking about real estate deals, crypto plays, jujitsu, and who had the best cigar connection in Miami. She left furious, told her boyfriend the group was weird and probably gay. He dumped her 2 weeks later because he finally saw how entitled she was when the attention faucet got turned off. That's the new normal in high value male spaces. Women aren't hated, they're just irrelevant unless they're invited and add value. And when women experience that irrelevance for the first time, the shock is visceral. Because for most of their lives, their mere presence was enough to shift the energy in the room. Not anymore. I need you to understand something profound. This shift didn't happen because men got together in a secret meeting and declared war on women. It happened organically, one man at a time, waking up, sharing notes, realizing we were all being played by the same rulebook that no longer served us. The internet accelerated it. Red pill content, MWA philosophy, passport bros, crypto gains, giving men location independence. It all converged into a perfect storm of male liberation. And the best part? It's irreversible. You can't unsee the matrix. Once a man experiences true peace, no drama, no nagging, no walking on eggshells, just gym, money, mission, and brotherhood, he's not going back to the plantation. Ever. We're a long way from done. We still have to talk about marriage rates collapsing, birth rates in free fall, the rise of passport bros, the 4B movement backlash, the economic implications of mass male opt out, how women in their 40s are suddenly discovering anxious attachment, and exactly what the end game looks like if this continues accelerating. Let's go deeper, because now we're entering the territory that makes people uncomfortable. The numbers, the statistics, the cold hard trends that nobody can argue with once they're laid out and laid out in plain sight. By November 2025, marriage rates in the United States have fallen to their lowest point since the government started keepingly tracking them in 1867. We're talking about a drop of nearly 70% from the peak in the 1970s. In major cities, New York, Los Angeles, Miami, Chicago, Less than 20% of men under 35 are married. That's not a blip, that's a societal earthquake. And when you look at who is still getting married, it's overwhelmingly either very religious couples or high earning men who demanded ironclad prenups and still took the risk. The average guy, he looked at the divorce industrial complex, looked at family court bias, looked at the 50 to 70% failure rate, looked at the horror stories from his father or his boys, and he quietly said, hard pass. Women felt that shift first in their dating lives, but now it's hitting the birth rate like a freight train. Japan, South Korea, Italy, Spain, they've been ahead of the curve for 20 years. And now the US and most of Western Europe are catching up fast. South Korea just recorded a fertility rate of 0.72 in 2024. That's not replacement level, that's civilizational collapse level. And every single study trying to explain it eventually circles back to the same thing. Young men are opting out of the entire family formation game because the risk reward ratio is completely broken. But here's where the shocked part comes in again. Women spent years celebrating child free life and cat mom culture and I don't need no man energy. And a huge chunk of men heard that, believed it, and said, cool, then you won't mind if we don't pursue, don't commit, and don't cohabitate. And now that those same men are living their best lives, debt free, passport in hand, multiple income streams, zero baby mama drama, the narrative flipped overnight to men are refusing to grow up, and Peter Pan syndrome is destroying society. No, men grew up. We just grew up into something that no longer includes automatic self sacrifice. Let me tell you a story that happened to a close friend of mine just last month. We'll call him David. David is 38, former Division One athlete turned private equity guy, net worth 8 figures, houses in 3 countries. Looks like a taller, richer version of Chris Hemsworth. Women used to throw themselves at him when he was 25 and broke. Now that he's actually got the full package, he dates very selectively, mostly younger women who bring peace and femininity to the table. He met a 34-year-old marketing executive last year. Gorgeous, fit, made decent money, no kids. They dated for about 7 months. She started pushing for exclusivity, then cohabitation, then hints about a ring. David laid it out straight. And I'm not against marriage in theory, but I'm not doing it without a bulletproof prenup. And even then, the juice isn't worth the squeeze for me right now. And I'm happy with how things are. She flipped, called him emotionally stunted, said he was afraid of real intimacy, told all her friends he was just using her for sex. David didn't argue. He just said, okay, handed back the key to his place, and went on a 3-week trip to Colombia with 2 of his boys. While he was gone, she blew up his phone, posted cryptic Instagram stories about men who can't commit, and even showed up at his gym trying to talk. David treated her exactly like he would treat a male friend who started acting erratic. He kept it polite, kept his distance, and moved on with his life. 6 weeks later, she's in therapy, realizing she spent her prime years chasing careers and situationships, and now the men she actually wants won't play the old game. And David, he's dating a 27-year-old nutritionist who cooks for him, rubs his back after long days, and never brings drama. Guess which one of them is shocked? That's not an outlier. That's the new standard. Now, let's talk about the passport bros phenomenon, because this is where the treating women like men goes global. For years, Western women mocked men who traveled abroad looking for more traditional dynamics. They called them losers, sex tourists, predators. Fast forward to 2025, and American men are leaving in droves. Medellin, Sao Paulo, Bangkok, Manila, Eastern Europe. And they're not just going for vacations. They're building businesses, buying property, getting residencies, and yes, meeting women who greet them with smiles instead of suspicion, who cook dinner without keeping score, who see a strong man as a prize instead of a threat. And the women back home, livid. You'll see TikToks with millions of views. These men are just going overseas because they can't handle strong, independent women. No, sweetheart. They're going overseas because they finally realize the game is global now. And why play on nightmare difficulty when easy mode is a 5-hour flight away? These men aren't running from strong women. They're running toward peaceful women. There's a difference. I want you to really let this next part sink in. Every single advantage that Western women used to have in the dating marketplace, proximity, cultural familiarity, legal protections, social pressure on men to settle, has been obliterated by technology and male independence. Cryptos gave men location independent income. Remote work gave men freedom. No fault divorce and hashtag Me Too taught men caution. Social media showed men what options really look like around the world. And once a man spends even 1 month in a place where women smile when they see him, bring him food without being asked, and compete to show how good they can be to him, coming back to, you think you're a prize? Pay half. Energy feels like jumping into ice water after a sauna. So now you have millions of men who treat dating like an international buffet. They're polite, they're respectful, but they're not committing to anything that doesn't blow the doors off what they've already experienced elsewhere. And Western women are left holding the bag, wondering why their master's degrees and OnlyFans subscriptions aren't translating into ring fingers. And again, the shock is palpable. And I saw a podcast clip the other day, 4 attractive women in their mid 30s, all making six figures, complaining that the only men approaching them now are broke or married. One of them literally said, I just want a man who will treat me like a queen without me having to do anything special. The silence after that statement was deafening because even her friends knew how insane that sounded out loud. That's the core of the shock, gentlemen. They're not shocked that men are treating them like men. They're shocked that men are treating them like men while still having abundance. They expected male equality to come with male desperation. Instead, it came with male indifference. And indifference from a man who has options is the most devastating energy a woman can experience. Let me drop one more story before we keep building because this one still makes me laugh. One of the guys in Angry's Crypto Academy, let's call him Ryan, made a 250,000 on a single altcoin play last year. 29 years old, jacked, speaks 3 languages, lives half the year in Dubai. He flew a girl out from LA to visit him, paid for the ticket, 5-star hotel, the whole thing. She spent the entire week taking selfies for Instagram, barely put her phone down, ordered the most expensive thing on every menu, and on the last night tried to start an argument because he didn't propose after 7 days. Ryan just smiled, put her on the flight home the next morning, and went to the beach with his boys. She got back to LA and posted a 30-slide rant about how all men with money are narcissists. Ryan sent me the screenshots and said, Bro, I treated her exactly how I treat my crypto portfolio. When it starts bleeding, I cut losses immediately. That's the new male mindset in a nutshell. We're not angry anymore. We're not bitter. We're not even negotiating. We're just applying the same cold, rational, self preserving logic to relationships that we apply to everything else in life. And women are absolutely stunned that the emotional labor credit card finally got declined. Now, let's talk about the 4B movement in South Korea. Because if you want a laboratory grade example of what happens when women collectively decide to treat men like men, meaning no dating, no sex, no marriage, no kids, Korea delivered it in real time. And the results are so brutal that even the feminists there are quietly backpedaling. For those who don't know, 4B stands for 4 no's in Korean. Beyond, no dating men. Bisex, no sex with men. Bi-gyeol-hon, no marriage with men. Bi-chulsan, no childbirth. It started around 2018 to 2019 as a radical feminist response to spy cam porn, workplace sexism, and the usual grievance. By 2023 to 2024, it had gone mainstream among Gen Z women. TikTok was full of Korean girls in their early 20s swearing off men forever, shaving their heads, burning pictures of exes, the whole theatrical production. They said men were trash, that relationships were slavery, that they were happier alone with their money and their friends. The men listened. Korean men didn't argue, they didn't protest, they didn't make YouTube videos begging women to come back. They just logged off. Enlistment rates for the mandatory military went up because guys figured if I'm not getting laid anyway, might as well get it over with. Gaming revenue exploded. Chicken and beer delivery sales hit all time highs. Plastic surgery for men skyrocketed. Jaw lines, height surgery, the works, because now they were doing it for themselves and their boys, not for women. The stock market in gaming, cosmetics for men, and overseas real estate seminars boomed, and then 2025 hit. The fertility rate fell off a cliff again, down to 0.72, then revised even lower in preliminary numbers. The government declared a national emergency. The president went on television, literally begging women to have babies and offering millions of won in subsidies. Universities started projecting that over half their incoming classes in 15 years will be gone. Empty dorms, empty lecture halls. Companies are already modeling workforce collapse in the 2040s. And the women? The ones who were 22 and screaming 4B forever in 2023 are now 24 and 25, watching their Instagram feeds fill up with wedding photos of the few couples who didn't opt out, realizing the pool of eligible men shrank overnight because the decent ones either left the country or checked out completely. Suddenly, the 4B subreddits and cafes are full of quiet threads like, I think I made a mistake. And is it too late to change my mind? The leaders of the movement are deleting their old videos or claiming they were just a phase. Korean men treated women exactly like men. You said you don't want us, cool, we're gone. No negotiation, no tears, no second chances. And now an entire developed nation is staring at demographic extinction because women finally got the equality they marched for. And it turns out equality includes the right to die alone as a civilization. That's not hyperbole. Economists are openly saying South Korea could look like a post apocalyptic movie by 2070 if the trend doesn't reverse. And the craziest part, Korean men still aren't angry. They're just peaceful. They're lifting, stacking money, learning English, moving to Vietnam and the Philippines, and living better lives than ever. The rage quit worked. Western women watched all of this unfold and thought that could never happen here. It's already happening here. It's just 5 to 7 years behind because the US is bigger, richer, and more medicated. But the script is identical. Let me show you how fast it's spreading domestically. Go on any major dating app right now, Hinge, Bumble, Tinder, and filter for women 30 to 39 with looking for long term and wants kids someday. Now look at the prompts. Half of them read like ransom notes. If you make less than 100,000, swipe left. Must be over 6 feet. No conservatives. Therapy speak mandatory. Be emotionally available, but also give me space. The standards have never been higher. The entitlement never louder. Now flip to the men's side. The top 20% of men are still active, still matching, still dating, but their profiles are minimalist. One gym pic, one travel pic, 6'2" because apparently it matters. Not looking for pen pals. I'll plan the date. You show up on time. The rest of the men, the average guys, have deleted the apps entirely. They're in the gym, in Discord servers, in crypto trading groups, in jujitsu gyms, in barbershops talking about the next Dubai trip. They're not hiding, they're thriving. And they're treating dating the same way they treat fantasy football or a stock pick. If the ROI isn't obvious and immediate, they allocate capital elsewhere. The result? Women 30 plus are now experiencing something they never had to deal with in their 20s. Silence. No more flooded inboxes. No more orbiters paying for dinners just to breathe the same air. No more guaranteed 3 matches a week. Just radio silence and the occasional 5-6 inch guy with a neckbeard sliding into DMs talking about anime. And the coping is spectacular. You've got podcasts with titles like The male loneliness epidemic, why men need to step up, while ignoring the female loneliness statistics that are now higher in every Western country for women under 35. You've got articles in our articles in Cosmopolitan and the Atlantic about how men have given up and how that's somehow men's fault. You've got dating coaches charging women 5 grand for weekend boot camps, teaching them how to radiate feminine energy and stop being so independent on for our first dates. Translation: the market spoke, and the price of entry just went from breathe and be female to bring peace, beauty, kindness, and low drama. Or keep scrolling. I want to pause here and tell you about a private conversation I had with a very high profile female dating coach last month. She's got 1.2 million Instagram followers, sells out retreats, the whole thing. She reached out off the record because she's terrified. Her business is down 60% year over year. Why? Because women are finally admitting in her programs that the advice she's been giving for a decade, hold frame, make him 100K plus, never text first, vet ruthlessly, is now getting them zero results. The men who match that criteria aren't dating anymore, or they're dating 25-year-olds who never read her content. She told me verbatim, I built an empire teaching women how to be high value. And now those same women are 38, unmarried, childless, and furious because the men they trained to want are either gone or only dating women 10 years younger who didn't get the memo. That's checkmate. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room that nobody wants to say out loud: age and biology. Women have been sold the biggest lie in modern history that career first, kids later is a viable strategy for 90% of them. The data says otherwise. Fertility starts dropping at 30, plummets after 35, and by 40, it's a medical moonshot for most. IVF success rates with your own eggs after 41 are under 5% per cycle. And that's if you can afford the 50 to 100 grand it costs. Men, we can have kids at 30, 40, 50, 60 if we stay in shape and have money. The power dynamic that existed from 1950 to about 2015 has inverted completely. A fit, financially secure 45-year-old man today has more options than a 25-year-old version of himself did in 2005. A 45-year-old woman has fewer options than she did at 25, and the gap is widening every year. That's not opinion, that's math. So when men start treating women like men, meaning we no longer factor in youth and fertility as the primary bargaining chip because we have abundance and time on our side, the panic becomes existential. Suddenly, the same women who bragged about freezing their eggs at 35 are realizing those eggs are more lottery ticket than insurance policy. And the stories pouring in from fertility clinics are heartbreaking if you have empathy, hilarious if you don't. Women showing up at 42 with a 6-figure net worth and a list of requirements for sperm donors that would make George Clooney blush, only to be told their own eggs are no longer viable. Meanwhile, the 50-year-old doctor doing the consultation just got his 31-year-old wife pregnant naturally. The universe has a sense of humor. We're going to keep layering this because the deeper we go, the clearer the end game becomes. Let's pull the camera back even further now, because what we're witnessing isn't just a dating crisis or a marriage strike. It's the largest voluntary mass withdrawal of male labor attention and resources from one half of the population in recorded human history. And it's happening silently, peacefully, and with a smile. Men aren't burning cities down. We're not forming political parties. We're not even arguing anymore. We're simply redirecting the energy that used to go into chasing, providing for, protecting, and pedestalizing women. Energy that used to be extracted from us like crude oil. And we're refining it into pure rocket fuel for ourselves. Gym memberships at record highs. Crypto portfolios at record highs. Male happiness and life satisfaction quietly climbing for the first time in 40 years, while female happiness is now lower than it's been since the 1970s. Yes, Gallup, Pew, and the General Social Survey all confirm this now. The divergence is staggering. And the most shocking part for women, men are treating them like men, and men are fine. More than fine. We're thriving. You see, when men treat other men with indifference, the other men don't fall apart. They go lift, they go build, they go laugh with their boys, they go get the bag. No therapy, no antidepressants, no viral TikTok tears. Just "ite bet" and keep pushing. Women are discovering, many for the first time, that the same treatment doesn't produce the same resilience because for decades they never had to develop it. The safety net was always there in the form of male attention, male provision, male willingness to absorb discomfort so they didn't have to. That net is gone. And the splat is echoing louder every single day. Let me tell you about the new male living compounds that are springing up everywhere because this is the physical manifestation of men walking away. In Austin, Texas, there's a 40-acre compound called the Republic. 40 guys, all high 6 to 8 figures, all single or divorced, all under 45. They've got a main house with a commercial kitchen, 12 private casitas, a 10,000 square foot gym, cold plunges, saunas, a jujitsu dojo, a podcast studio, and a helipad. They host quarterly summits where another 50 guys fly in private. Women are allowed as overnight guests only. No live-in girlfriends, no wives, no exceptions. The vibe is Spartan meets Silicon Valley meets Fight Club. They trade crypto tips at 6 a.m., roll jujitsu at 7, lift at 9, close deals by noon, steak and cigars at night. Zero drama, zero baby mama calls at 2 a.m., zero "where are you" texts. Similar setups are popping up outside Miami, Scottsdale, Boise, Nashville, and even in Puerto Rico now. They're not advertised. You get invited by a current resident who vouches for you. The wait lists are years long, and the men inside these compounds aren't broken losers. They're the guys who used to be the most eligible bachelors in their cities: doctors, tech founders, real estate investors, former pro athletes. They looked at the traditional path, ran the numbers, and said, nah, I'll build my own civilization instead. Women hear about these places and lose their minds. It's a cult. They hate women. No, they just love peace more than pussy at this point, and that's a trade most men never thought they'd make until they did and realized how sweet freedom actually tastes. Vasectomies are another leading indicator almost nobody is talking about. In the United States, vasectomies among childless men under 30 have tripled since 2018. Tripled. In Canada, it's up 400% in some provinces. Urologists on private forums are saying the average patient went from 42 and already with 2 kids to 28 and never married. When asked why, the answer is almost universal. I don't trust the system. I don't trust women not to baby trap me. I don't want to pay child support for 18 years because a condom broke or she lied about birth control. And before anyone says just wrap it up, bro, understand that courts in multiple states have ruled that a man is still financially responsible even if conception was achieved through deception. Sperm fraud is real, and the penalty is 6 figures a year for 2 decades. So men are doing the math and permanently removing themselves from the risk pool. They're treating potential children the same way they treat Russian roulette: no round in the chamber, no game played. Meanwhile, the female mental health wave is just beginning to crest. Therapists in every major city are reporting the exact same new client: 38 to 45 years old, senior director or VP title, beautiful apartment, no kids, no partner, suddenly gripped by panic attacks and existential dread. They followed the script perfectly: college, career, travel, living my best life, and woke up one day staring at a biological clock that sounds like a bomb ticking. The same women who used to roll their eyes at trad wives are now secretly watching those accounts with envy, refreshing fertility clinic price lists at 3 a.m., and wondering where all the men went. because the men didn't die. We didn't disappear. We just stopped caring. And that indifference is more terrifying to the modern woman than hatred ever could be. I want you to imagine a scene that happened to one of my mentors last week. 62 years old, worth nine figures, still in phenomenal shape, married once, for 6 years in his 30s, divorced cleanly, never remarried. He was at a black tie charity gala in Manhattan. Stunning 41-year-old blonde, former model turned wellness entrepreneur, corners him by the bar, full charm offensive, touching his arm, laughing at everything he says, dropping hints about how she's finally ready to slow down and build something real. 20 years ago, this guy would have been hooked. Last week, he smiled politely, excused himself, and spent the rest of the night talking investments with three other men. She was stunned, sent him a LinkedIn message the next day. It was so lovely meeting you. Would love to continue our conversation over dinner. His reply, best of luck in your search. That's it. And she called a mutual friend crying. He acted like I was invisible. No, princess. He treated you like a man treats another man who's trying to sell him something he doesn't want. Polite, brief, gone. That's the new normal at every level of the socioeconomic ladder. Now, let's talk about the economic implications, because this is where it stops being personal and starts being civilizational. Single childless men are the most productive demographic in human history. We work longer hours, take fewer sick days, never take maternity leave, relocate for jobs without hesitation, and spend our disposable income on taxable goods and experiences instead of minivans and diapers. Corporations are quietly noticing. Tech companies, in particular, are building entire campuses designed around young single men, on site gyms, barbershops, meal prep services, even in house dating app free social events because they know bringing women into the mix kills productivity. Governments are not noticing yet. They will. When the tax base starts shrinking because fewer men are getting divorce robbed and more men are childless by choice, the revenue hole is going to be measured in trillions. Social Security, Medicare, pensions, all built on the assumption that men would keep marrying, keep reproducing, and keep transferring wealth to women and children. That conveyor belt just stopped. Japan figured this out 20 years ago and still hasn't fixed it. Europe is next. America is about 10 years behind Japan, which means the real pain starts hitting around 2035 to 2040. By then, today's 28-year-old gym bro who refuses to grow up will be a 43-year-old multimillionaire with zero dependents living in Dubai or Singapore, paying minimal tax and watching Western governments beg him to come back and save the system he already escaped. And the final irony? The same women who told him he was worthless at 25 will be 55, alone, and suddenly discovering that cats don't push wheelchairs. Brothers, this is the end game. The war is over. Men didn't fight it. We just left the battlefield. Women demanded equality. Men gave them equality plus abundance. They're shocked because they finally understand the difference between equality and privileged equality. One is fair, the other one was sweet while it lasted. So, where do we go from here? Simple. You keep building, you keep lifting, you keep stacking money, fiat, crypto, real estate, whatever vehicle works for you. You keep your circle airtight. You keep your body strong, your mind sharp, your passport ready. You date if you want, but only on your terms, only with women who bring peace and add value. You treat every woman exactly like you treat your best male friend, respect if earned, indifference if not, and zero tolerance for disrespect. You never hate women. You just stop needing them, because the moment you stop needing them is the moment you become everything they were ever looking for and everything they can no longer control. That's the ultimate red pill. Not anger, not revenge, freedom, and absolute unapologetic freedom. And that, gentlemen, is why all roads still lead to MWA. So tell me in the comments, what part of this hit you the hardest? Do you agree this shift is irreversible, or do you think the old dynamic can still come back? Drop your thoughts below, argue with me, share your stories. I read every single one. Like the video, if you like it, don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.